I thought it was the end. But I was wrong. That day, everything felt dark. I was tired. I was hurt. I felt small. I didn't want to get out of bed. I didn't want to see anyone. I didn't want to speak. I remember just lying there, staring at the ceiling. I could hear people outside, cars, voices, music. Life was moving. But I was not. I closed my eyes and thought, maybe it would be better if I just disappeared. Have you ever felt like that? Like the world is too loud, too fast, and you are too slow, too broken, too tired to keep up. It's not easy to say these things. But I need to tell this story. Because maybe, you have felt this way too. I didn't always feel this way. Before, I was full of energy. I liked my job. I was learning new things. I had dreams. I studied English every evening. I had a small notebook. I wrote new words. I practiced. I was proud of myself. Sometimes I made mistakes, but I didn't stop. I laughed at myself. I felt strong. At work, I tried hard. I helped my team. I wanted to grow. I believed in my future. I believed in myself. But slowly, something changed. One mistake led to another. One bad day became many. And then, everything fell apart. It started with a mistake. A mistake at work. A small one, but important. We had a deadline. I worked late. I was tired. I didn't double-check the files. I sent the wrong version to the client. They were not happy. They lost time. My manager was angry. My coworkers were surprised. I felt the heat in my face. I tried to explain. But the words didn't come out right. They didn't believe I tried my best. They thought I was careless. Lazy. But I wasn't. I was just tired. I was trying so hard, too hard. No one saw that part. After that day, things changed. My manager didn't trust me like before. She gave me less important work. She stopped asking for my ideas. My coworkers stopped talking to me at lunch. They laughed quietly when I walked by. Maybe I imagined it. Maybe not. But I felt it. At home, I couldn't stop thinking about it. I played the mistake in my head, again and again. I asked myself, why did you do that? Why didn't you check the file? I couldn't sleep. I couldn't rest. My mistake became my identity. I wasn't good anymore. I was the one who failed. One evening, it was raining. Hard. I left the office late. I had no umbrella. The cold rain hit my face. My clothes got heavy. But I didn't run. I didn't hide. I just walked. Each step felt heavy, like I was carrying the whole world on my back. I looked around. Everyone else had umbrellas. Everyone else seemed fine. I felt small. Invisible. I started crying. Quietly. No one looked. Or maybe they did. I didn't care. Because at that moment, I wasn't sure who I was anymore. I felt like I had lost myself. After that night, I stopped trying. At work, I did only what I had to. No more extra ideas. No more questions. I came in, I sat down, I went home. I said, "Good morning," but my voice was empty. I stopped smiling. I stopped caring. I also stopped learning English. I closed my notebook. I put it in a drawer. I thought, what's the point? If I fail at work, I will fail in English too. So I gave up. Little by little, I stopped being me. My friends called. I didn't answer. They sent messages. I read them, but didn't reply. They invited me out. I said no. Again and again. After a while, they stopped asking. My phone was quiet. My home was quiet. My heart was quiet too. Even my family noticed. My mother said, "Are you okay?" I said, "I'm fine." But I wasn't. I just didn't want to talk. Not even music helped. Before, I loved music. It made me feel alive. But now, every song made me sad. Even happy songs made me cry. I sat in my room every night. Sometimes I just stared at the wall. Sometimes I sat on the floor. Sometimes I lay in bed and didn't move for hours. I didn't read. I didn't cook. I didn't laugh. I didn't feel angry. I didn't feel sad. I just felt nothing. Like the lights inside me were turned off. I wasn't living. I was only breathing. It's hard to explain. But if you've been there, you understand. It's a quiet pain. A deep, empty silence. Days passed. Then weeks. I didn't care about the date. I didn't open the curtains. Sometimes I forgot to eat. I looked in the mirror and didn't know who I saw. My hair was messy. My face looked tired. My eyes had no light. I wanted to scream. I wanted to break something. But I didn't. I just sat. One night, I whispered, "I don't want to be here anymore." And then I cried. Deep, quiet tears. The kind that come from the soul. And after the tears, came silence again. That night was the lowest point. I felt like I had fallen into a deep, dark hole. I couldn't see the sky. I couldn't see a way out. I thought, this is it. This is where I stay. But then, something changed. Not outside. Inside. In the middle of that deep silence, I heard something small. A thought. A whisper. It said, "Try again." It was soft. Almost nothing. But I heard it. And I listened. Because deep inside, I still wanted to live. I still wanted to come back. The next morning, something felt a little different. Just a little. I still felt tired. I still felt sad. But that small voice from the night before, it was still there. It whispered again, "Try again." I sat up in bed. I looked around my room. It was messy. Clothes on the floor. Empty cups on the table. Dust on the shelves. But the window had light. I walked slowly to the window and opened it, just a little. A small breeze came in. It was cool and fresh. It touched my face gently. I closed my eyes and took a breath. One slow breath. For the first time in many days, the air didn't feel heavy. I whispered to myself, maybe, just one small step. I didn't do anything big that day. I didn't go outside. I didn't work. I didn't clean the whole house. But I made tea. That's it. I boiled the water. I chose my favorite cup. I added a little honey. The cup was warm in my hands. I sat at the table. I drank it slowly. It felt nice. It felt kind. It felt like I was giving something small to myself. After tea, I washed my face. The water was cold, but it woke me up. I looked at myself in the mirror. I didn't smile. But I didn't look away. That was my second step. Not big. But enough. Later that day, I found my old English notebook. It was under a pile of papers. Dusty, forgotten, closed. I opened it. My writing was neat. On the first page, it said, "Day 1, I can do this." That made me cry again. But not in a sad way. I cried because I remembered who I was when I wrote that. Someone brave. Someone full of hope. I turned to a random page. There was a sentence, "My name is Lena." Very simple. Very small. I said it out loud. My name is Lena. And something inside me said, yes. You still are. The next day, I got dressed. Not in work clothes. Not in anything fancy. Just a clean shirt and jeans. I brushed my hair. I washed a few dishes. I opened the curtains. The light came in. I sat by the window. I watched the sky. Clouds moved slowly. Birds flew by. The world was still turning. And I was still here. I picked up my English book again. This time, I read a short paragraph. I didn't understand every word. I had to check the dictionary. But I read it. Out loud. Slowly. That was enough for that day. Later that week, I went outside. Just to the corner shop. Just a 5-minute walk. I felt nervous. My hands were cold. My heart beat fast. But I walked anyway. Step by step. I looked around. The street looked the same. But I felt different. I went inside the shop. I picked up some tea and fruit. At the counter, the woman smiled at me. I smiled back. I said, hello. Just one word. But it felt big. Because I hadn't said hello to anyone in days. And she said, hello, back. That moment stayed with me. That night, I opened a new notebook. Not my old English one. A new one. On the first page, I wrote, today, I didn't give up. Then I closed the book. No long story. No deep plan. Just one line. But that line was true. The next day, I opened it again. I wrote, I went outside. I said hello. Day by day, this new book grew. One sentence at a time. Some days, the sentences were short. Made tea. Opened a window. Said good morning. But each word felt like a brick. I was building something again. Little by little, my heart began to feel lighter. Not always. Not every day. Some days were still heavy. Some days I still cried. But I was trying. And trying is a kind of strength. I started doing small things again. I cleaned my table. I folded laundry. I cooked rice. These were not special things. But for me, they meant something. They meant I was still here. Still living. Still fighting in a quiet way. And every evening, I sat with my notebook. I looked at the sentences. They were proof. Proof that I didn't stay in that dark place. One day, I listened to a short English podcast. Before, I would listen for an hour. But now, I just tried 5 minutes. I listened carefully. Slowly. I didn't understand every word. But I caught a few. Hope. Change. Try again. I smiled. Those words felt like mine. The next day, I listened again. Then again. Then I repeated the words. I said them out loud. Not perfect. But honest. And every time, I felt a little more confident. Like my voice was coming back. I started cooking new meals. Simple things, vegetable soup, boiled eggs, rice with lemon. I used to cook a lot. I had forgotten how much I loved it. Now, it felt like therapy. Chop, boil, stir, taste. Every step was quiet and peaceful. I lit a small candle at the table. I played soft music. And I said, thank you, before eating. Not to anyone in particular. Just to the moment. Because I was eating. I was healing. And for the first time, food tasted like care. One morning, I looked in the mirror again. I took a deep breath. My eyes still looked tired, but they were open. I put my hand on my heart and said, "You are trying." That was enough. I didn't need to be perfect. I didn't need to be strong every moment. I only needed to be honest. And I was. The days didn't magically become easy. But I stopped hiding from them. I showed up. I took small steps. And slowly, I started to feel like myself again. Still the same me. But also, someone new. The small victories became more noticeable. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just real. One day, I walked past someone and said, "Good morning." It was only 2 words. But my voice didn't shake. I didn't look down. I said it with a smile. That same day, I helped a neighbor carry their groceries. They said, "Thank you." I said, "You're welcome." We talked for a few minutes. About the weather. About the fruit in their bag. Nothing deep, but something kind. After, I felt warm inside. Like I had touched the world again. Another day, I wrote a full paragraph in English. It wasn't perfect. But it was mine. I read it out loud. I corrected my mistakes. I didn't get angry with myself. These moments used to scare me. But now, they gave me strength. Every small step reminded me, I was moving forward. Life didn't suddenly become perfect. But it became real again. I started going to work with new eyes. I didn't try to impress everyone. I just did my best. I asked questions. I offered ideas. I took breaks when I needed them. Some people still judged me. But I didn't let it stop me this time. Because now, I knew something important: my value doesn't disappear when I make a mistake. One day, a coworker said, "You seem different these days. More calm." I smiled. I said, "I'm just learning to take care of myself." And it was true. Even when work was busy, I didn't forget who I was anymore. I was more than my job. I was a human being, trying every day. And that was enough. I wanted to connect with others again, slowly. So I joined a small online English group. It was just a few people. From different countries. All learning together. At first, I was shy. I only listened. But one day, I introduced myself. "My name is Lena. I like music and tea." Everyone smiled. One person said, "Me too." That made me laugh. A real laugh. We met once a week. We practiced talking. We made mistakes. We helped each other. Sometimes I said the wrong word. Sometimes I forgot a sentence. But no one laughed at me. They said, "It's okay. Try again." And I did. Every week, I felt more confident. Not just in English. But in myself. I began writing again. Not just short notes. But feelings. Memories. Dreams. I wrote about the rain. About tea. About silence. I wrote about that night, the lowest one, and how I found a voice in the dark. Sometimes, I cried while writing. But they were different tears. Not tears of sadness. But tears of healing. Because I was telling my story. I was seeing my own strength. One day, I wrote this sentence. "I am not the same person I was before. But I still belong in this world." I read it again and again. I believed it. That sentence stayed with me. I wrote it on a card. I placed it on my wall. Now, I see it every day. Life is not always easy now. Some days are still hard. Some mornings, I still feel afraid. But now, I have tools. I have habits. I have hope. When I feel sad, I make tea. I sit by the window. I breathe. When I feel nervous, I write. Even if it's just one sentence. When I feel tired, I rest. I don't call myself lazy. I remember those slow, early days, how I opened the window, how I said, hello, how I read one English sentence. Those moments remind me, starting again is not loud. It's quiet. Soft. Gentle. But powerful. And now, I know. I can always begin again. I don't need to be new. I only need to be honest. That's the most beautiful kind of strength. Maybe you're listening now, and you feel tired. Maybe your heart is heavy. Maybe you feel lost. Maybe your light feels small. I want to tell you something, it's okay. It's okay to feel broken. It's okay to stop. It's okay to cry. You are not weak. You are human. And you are not alone. Whatever happened, it does not define you. Your story is still being written. And every small step counts. Even opening this video, even listening to these words, that is a step. A step toward hope. Toward healing. You are doing more than you think. You don't need to change everything today. You don't need to fix your whole life in 1 week. Start small. Open your window. Make your bed. Say one English word. Write one line in your notebook, I'm still here. That is enough. Even if your heart feels heavy, even if your hands shake, try one small thing. And then tomorrow, try again. One step at a time. It will not be perfect. It will not be easy. But it will be real. And real progress is the most powerful kind. You are not your failures. You are not your mistakes. You are not the bad day, the quiet room, the missed opportunity. You are the person who stayed. The person who cried, and still breathed. The person who paused, but didn't quit. You are the person who heard a small voice inside and listened. That voice is still with you. It says, try again. It says, you matter. It says, you can start over. And I believe it. I believe in you. Even if we've never met. I know that starting again is possible. Because I did it. And so can you. One day, you'll look back. You'll remember this moment. Maybe it was quiet. Maybe it was rainy. Maybe you were sitting alone. But you'll remember that something inside you moved. Just a little. Just enough. You'll say, that's the day I started again. Not with a big speech. Not with fireworks. But with one small breath. With one English sentence. With one quiet choice to stay. You'll be proud of that day. Because that day, you didn't give up. You gave yourself a chance. So today, take a deep breath. Put your hand on your heart. And say softly, I'm still here. I'm still trying. Let those words stay with you. Carry them into tomorrow. And if tomorrow is hard, come back to them. I'm still here. I'm still trying. Because that is enough. That is strong. That is beautiful. One day, your story will help someone else. Just like mine helped you. And they will say, if they could start again, so can I. This is not the end. This is your beginning.